Hey everybody, it's Jason from the Texas Gun Vault 2, and we're back out here in the garage for I guess what's going to be a multi-purpose video because we have some first impressions and a little bit of garage gun talk. I have two things I took to the range tonight. In fact, I literally just got back into the garage and it is 10 o'clock on the dot according to the clock here, so a little bit late, but I love going to the range, especially when I'm by myself. It allows me to film good content for product reviews, range reports, and not have to be disturbed. I also want to share with you my experiences about going to the gun show today. I mentioned I was going to do that in last night's video, and I have a couple stories, and I want to share with you what I found because some people were kind of curious and some people had some recommendations for me. But let's go ahead and start with the first impressions. And the two things I took to the range tonight. One was a pistol. This is the get this right, Race City Defense. I believe this is the RC9 or maybe the RC9C. I have to double check because this is definitely a commander-sized 2011. It's a pistol probably designed for concealed carry. That's the way it kind of feels. It's kind of the way it shoots. And this one was a really interesting experience because the way that it shoots and the way that it feels in my hand are polar opposites. So let's talk about the way that it shoots. This is one of those pistols that at 10 yards literally tears up the center of the target. I mean, this is a fantastic shooting gun. Accuracy is off the chart. I think the trigger is very nice for a concealed carry pistol. It's not like a target trigger. It's not too light. I don't worry about staging it and it going off really before I wanted to. Very predictable. The porting on this barrel works great. I didn't really get a lot of the gas coming back into the optic and making the lens dirty. It really seems to be designed well. Great compensation. I love ported barrels. Work great. All of the controls, easy to get to. The detent on the safety, nice and strong. Everything about this was just exceptional. I really have no complaints with the way that it shot. 100% reliable, and hollow points ran well in it. I can shoot it pretty fast, but because it's not necessarily like a race gun or target trigger, my tempo with it was inconsistent, but I was able to shoot it fast. Okay. What about the experience shooting it? This gun is not fun to shoot for me because the way it feels in my hand. And I always need to preference this, that I have early onset rheumatoid arthritis. In fact, right now I'm going through a minor flare. I've been going through a kind of a minor flare the past week. And right now I have some pains in my hand. And I believe that's an important thing to share with people because I want you guys to get all of the information, because if you suffer from arthritis, maybe you have weaker hands, maybe you're an older shooter, just aren't as strong as you used to, I always want to say, hey, this is how this gun performed for me, how it made me feel, how it worked in my hands. So you can have some type of baseline metric and useful information regarding, is that going to be the pistol for me, or what about it do I like, what don't I like, before, you might look into getting one or not. But anyway, minor flare-up, but not bad. This gun recoils very soft. So that wasn't the issue. Oh, the other reason I always bring it up is inevitably when I say, hey, this gun has some recoil, it hurts a little bit. Even though I say I have rheumatoid arthritis, which is an autoimmune disease, I cannot control it. I cannot control the pain level. People will be like, you just got to go to the gym. I'm like, no, that doesn't change anything. You can be the most physically fit person and have rheumatoid arthritis and just be in pain. Not because you've done anything or you're not strong. People are so, they only look at the world through their own perspective and their own experiences and not think, well, yeah, okay, he's in his mid-40s and has a tactical dad bod. He just needs to go to the gym. That's why it hurts his hand. No, it hurts my hand because I got rheumatoid arthritis, and my body is literally attacking my joints. But anyway, soft recoiling. So it's not a recoil issue. It is this grip. Now, this is a metal grip module, And I gotta double check. I want to say, man, this is a hefty gun. So, and it looks like it might be like made of two different metals. Maybe this is steel, this is aluminum, but I gotta double check. But this texture with these little squares, it's aggressive, but it's not aggressive in a like sandpaper way. It's just sharp. If you take your hand and you just run it up and down this, you feel how sharp it is. And I know some people like to, I guess, feel like their hands are bleeding when they shoot guns. I'm not going to drop it. Oh, blah, blah, blah. Man, for me, it's a fine balance between the texture, so you get good control and a good contact with the gun. So I think some people call it purchase. And it being comfortable. There's always going to be a trade-off. And shooting so many 2011s, I have found that the staccato, like, you know, I would say the XL is my favorite, but pretty much any of the staccato grips and kind of like their stock kind of texture is perfect for me. Now, if you're a tactical guy or you're a competition guy, I could see maybe going a little bit different direction, but I want something that's really kind of right in the middle between aggressiveness and something being comfortable. This one falls way too far on the aggressive side. And after a while, even though I shot the gun great, it just wasn't fun to shoot because I'm like, man, this thing kind of hurts after a while. But not because of the recoil. It's because of this grip module. But some people, I think, are going to like it. So it also does not have the grip safety. And I really feel like they're marketing this one to the concealed carry market. And when you don't have a firing pin block and do not have a grip safety, I really feel like on a 1911 or 2011 pistol, you're missing the boat. This could potentially be an issue for an ND, because all these, even though this has a heavier trigger than most, it's still pretty light as compared to other guns. So there you go. That's my thoughts on the Race City Defense. It's either the RC9 or the RC9C. I have to double check. They don't put it on the gun. I wish they would. Man, put those models on the gun. All right. The next thing that I started to review, and I still have to go to the range tomorrow. Maybe I should do it this way so you can probably see a little bit better. Because I have to film me shooting it at the 100-yard range. I started most of the footage for the Sightmark Presidio LPVO. This is a 1:6 by 24 CR1 rifle scope. There's the information on it in case you're interested. I don't know if that's going to show up. I think it's going to show up there. But that's the information on this bad boy. And some things about it I really like, and some things about it so far I don't. Now, when it comes to optics, I think LPVOs are my least favorite style. Because if I'm going to do anything that I guess we could say would be CQB, anything close up, I think I just kind of prefer a red dot sight or a holographic sight like an EOTech, an Aimpoint, something in that nature. No magnification, and if I need magnification, the magnifiers typically work great. And then when it comes to longer distance shooting, which I typically don't do, I don't consider myself to be an expert on that or anything, but I kind of prefer ones that go up to like 32 power or whatever, kind of the more powerful ones, ones that probably start at 8 power and go above. And when you have a scope that's in that intermediate, this is a 1:6 power, it really has to perform well for me in a couple of different ways. Number one, I need a decent field of view on the lower magnification. And I need it to not have awkward eye relief and be easy to fine tune. So let's go over what I discovered on this one. So I started off on the range with this at just 1 power. And if you're a more knowledgeable person with optics than I am, tell me if there is a word for this. I feel at 1 power, 1 times magnification, this scope makes me feel like I have tunnel vision. And in fact, I kind of feel like once I fine-tune the eyepiece, I feel like the target looks like it's further away than 1x. It's almost like negative magnification. Like it kind of seems like maybe it's at like 0.9, 0.8, where if I'm looking through it and then I kind of take my eyes, look to the side, I'm like, actually in real life it looks a little bit bigger. But I think it's an optical illusion because it makes me feel like I have so much tunnel vision. And of course the objective lens on this is pretty darn small up here at the front. But for me at 1 power, it's not usable. And I found that its sweet spot for me was at about 3 power. So I did a test where I set up targets because I'm at the range by myself. In the lane next to me, 10 yards. My lane, 15 yards. And the lane to my right was 20 yards. And I took a full magazine and I would try to like go back and go 3 on 1, 3 on 1, 3 on 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 2, 2, 2, whatever, just till I was out. And I was trying to practice kind of target acquisition because that's what LPVOs are really good for, and having a, what is this one? Is this a second or first focal plane? I keep forgetting. Yeah, sorry, this is a second focal plane reticle. So good for quick target acquisition. At 3 power, once I dialed in the fine-tuning on the eyepiece, I thought it was great. To me, that is this scope's sweet spot. But the fine-tuning has to be there. I really feel like the fine-tuning is unforgiving. That once you change magnification even a little bit, you gotta fine-tune it again. Like it gets real blurry real fast with slight adjustments. But at 3 power, it's great. 1 power, I think it's not usable. I mean, you can use it, but it doesn't really give you any advantage in any way. You know, you think having that nice reticle, which by the way, the reticle on this is super clear, and I like how it's illuminated just enough. But I think iron sights or a red dot would be better if you're not going to run magnification. At 6x magnification, I really feel like the eye relief starts to become a little bit awkward. It's a little bit too close. Now, I don't know how I'm going to measure this. I really felt like between 1 and 3x magnification, perfect eye relief. And I consider myself eye relief sensitive. So I really didn't have to, you know, have it where it was so specific. It was very forgiving the faster I shot. At 6x, I kind of felt like it wasn't as forgiving. Where if I shot a little bit fast, my head might move just a little bit. It took me a second to kind of reacquire the eye relief. So it's not as forgiving. That's what I discovered. So for the price point and what it is, I think it's okay. I think its overall length is too long. In that I've seen LPVOs that are a little bit shorter, and we have this gigantic eyepiece in the back where we have the magnification, we have the fine-tuning, and that might be one of the reasons why the eye relief is a little bit awkward, because of where I need to mount it on the gun. It's okay, and I can see on the right gun it's going to be fine, especially if you use it right in the center of the magnification. So it's good. The glass is clear. I wish the field of view was bigger, just a little bit bigger, just a little bit. And the reticle is pretty good. So right now it's okay. So I have to take it to the 100-yard range. I'm going to try to set up the thing where I set my camera. I bought that device that hopefully I'll be able to take some images through it so you guys can see the reticle on target at 100 yards and see what it looks like, especially with different illumination settings. So I like it so far, but it might not be the most versatile LPVO. And it's a little bit unforgiving. But if you dial it in where you want it and kind of leave it, I'm sure it's fine. I think it's good. So anyway, I have to go back to the range tomorrow and film that last portion. In fact, I think I left the illuminated reticle on. Yeah, I did. I should probably turn that off. All right, there we go. All right, so that is the first impressions on the Race City Defense 2011 and the Presidio Sightmark Scope. All right, so let's talk about the gun show. I went to the gun show today with my friend, and we had a great time. So I got some crazy stories, but let's talk about my impressions of the gun show and the health of the firearms industry and the community right now. Number one, the show was bigger than I was expecting it to be. I've been watching a lot of videos of people say gun shows are dying. There's not a lot going on. Now that was not the case. There was a lot of people there showing off showing off their wares, selling stuff, trading stuff, ammo, accessories, and of course all the other ancillary stuff you see at the shows, like people selling beef jerky and so forth. So it was a big show. The whole place was kind of filled up with the vendors. And there were a lot of people there. Way more than I was expecting. The parking lot was full and a lot of people walking around. The last time I went to a gun show, I really felt like it was kind of a dying thing because it was kind of empty. It was kind of small. Overall, pretty happy. So it seems like a lot of people are really still into guns, the Second Amendment. I saw people of all ages, all races, and all walks of life, which is great for the health of the Second Amendment, and that's what we want to see. When it came to what interested me there, I kind of went to the show and I like to walk it, essentially. I'll walk the whole show, look at all the booths, see if anything interests me. And at a gun show, because I'm not going to buy anything in particular, something really has to stand out to me. And I'll make a mental note of it. And then after I walk the whole show, I go back to look at it, whatever it was. Because, you don't want to go to the first table, find something you love, and then you're like, okay, I'll get that. And then you find something later 4, rows over, and you're like, oh man, I already got this other thing, but I really wanted this more. So I walked the whole show. I did not see anything high end. Now, by high end, I mean like 2011 pistols. I kind of thought that, some of the people selling guns would have a couple of higher end stuff. Didn't see any of that. When it came to like all of the parts for AR builds, like if I saw anything Knight's Armament, if I saw a Knight's Armament rail for sale, I would have picked it up, okay? But I saw none of that. I kind of feel like everything at the show, for the most part, that was in the new category was mid-tier. Meaning it was a lot of Glocks, Smith & Wesson, Springfield Armory. It was just kind of like your usual stuff. FN, it was just, nothing was like super expensive high-end. And I'm not talking about like $2,000 more. And not, of course, you're always going to get your Celtic. Everything was kind of low, mid-tier. Nothing was like super exciting. I did get to handle one of the CC9s, the HK CC9s. And I know people have been asking me to review that pistol. Let me tell you, if you want me to review that pistol, someone's going to have to lend it to the channel because I have zero interest in that gun. I got to see one and handle one, and it feels cheap. It looks cheap. I don't like it. I don't like it. So if you're interested in the Texas Gun Vault reviewing the CC9, it's not going to be mine. Doesn't mean it's going to be a bad pistol, but my first thoughts handling it, no, it's a no-go. A pistol that was there that I saw that I've always been interested in is the FN, the new high power. And it was just way too expensive. I mean, they're asking $1,300 for this gun that, I think when it first came out, it was in the $1,100 range. And I thought it was way too high then. If that gun was $700, $800, all day long, I think it'd be a hot seller. But man, I am not going to gamble $1,300 on a gun that I just kind of like the idea of. It's not going to happen. So all the mid-tier stuff that was new, I generally felt what people say is true, that everything is kind of overpriced. I understand why. Meaning these are physical sellers that have the inventory on hand. They're paying for the booths. They got to pay the employees. They got to pay for everything. I totally get it. So they cannot compete necessarily with the prices of online retailers and auction sites. But you do get the advantage if it's something you want, you can get it that day. So you can satisfy that need, that excitement. But I felt like the prices in general were super high for what they should be, even compared to like other local stores. So I was seeing Glocks, a lot of Glocks in the $600, $650, close to $700 range, which is to me is absolutely bonkers. I saw a lot of Colt 1911s. They were fairly priced, probably where I would expect them to be $800, $900. But a lot of stuff was overpriced. Yeah. So let's talk about parts for ARs, because I'm always looking for accessories, things for builds. I got that lower receiver that I'd love to find an upper for. I did find a guy that had a table of just upper receivers. He had like in the box, like Colt uppers. He had, I guess, either ones he had assembled or ones that he had bought. The one that interested me was a M16A1 style upper. So it had the triangle handguard, 20-inch pencil barrel. I believe it was a Luth AR. Do you guys know that company, Luth-AR? They make kind of lower end AR parts, which is totally fine. They're affordable, and I thought, that'd be actually kind of a nice upper for that Bushmaster lower I have nothing for. That'd be kind of a cool rifle to have. So I asked the guy, I was like, hey, how much for this A1 Luth AR upper that is not even that good? Like, it doesn't even have like all the right parts on it. The bolt carrier is definitely not, retro looking. And he was like, $850. I'm like, I'm not even going to respond with a negotiation, because I'm like, that is so far out of the ballpark of where that should be. In my personal opinion, that should be a $500 upper. It just should be a $500 upper. There was no way. But everything on his table, all the upper receivers he had, he wanted way too much for. Oh, good. It's an in-the-box Colt upper. You are way above what you can get him for elsewhere. So I don't know if the guy had it was just part of his collection and he was trying to get a premium on it. But if somebody comes at you with a price that's so high, there is no negotiation. I'm not going to offend him by lowballing him, because if he would have said 500, 550, even maybe $6, yeah, I would have been like, probably, yeah, okay, I'll take it. But at $850, no, I'm not going to do that. And then after walking the whole show, the only thing that I saw that I went back for was an H&R M16A1. And it was nice. And the price tag on that guy was like $1,000, which I thought was a very fair deal for a very nice A1 retro rifle. So I walked the whole show with my friend, and I said, okay, there's only one thing I want to go back and look at. And we went back, and as I was walking up to it, there was a guy looking at it. I kind of waited my turn. And then as soon as I picked it up, there was another guy that came over and looked at the salesman and says, I want that one right there. And he looked at me and goes, sorry, partner. And I was like, jerk. But I wasn't mad. I was like, well, he got it before me, because I probably was going to bring that thing home. Probably was. I was very impressed with the build quality. I have never held an H&R since they, I guess, were bought by Palmetto State. It looked good. I was really happy. I thought that was a really good price for it too. But I literally was a little bit too slow on it. But this is okay. It saved me money. I walked out of the show having bought absolutely nothing. I was only out the admission price, which was $15, which I thought was actually kind of high. Gun shows used to be like $10. Now they're $15. So I missed out on that. But it's okay, because one of the things I learned from my dad, when it comes to anything, it's a kind of a big dollar purchase. He says, it's meant to be when it's meant to be. The right one when it happens. Like if you go to a car lot, don't force it. If there's a car you look at and go, it's close. I kind of like it. No, it's not the one for you. You know it when you see it. Like it's like the the clouds part, the light comes down, the beam of light comes down, you go, yeah, it's meant to be. Something happens, you know it's meant to be. And I thought it was going to be that rifle for me today, but it wasn't. It wasn't. The fact that it was, and I always kind of say, if it's gone when I get back to it, it wasn't meant to be. And this thing was literally taken out of my hands by somebody else that bought it. So it wasn't meant to be. So I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. But man, it was nice. It was nice. I do have that one Colt AR, kind of one of 2,500 that I have that's unfired, but it would have been really sweet to have an A1, M16 A1 clone that I could take to the range and enjoy. But I might be on the hunt for one of those in the future. But that was it. So other stories, there was 2 sketchy things that happened at the gun show. The first one was, as my friend was walking up, there was we'll say a gentleman, probably looked like a inner city youth, shall we say, baggy pants that were falling off, wearing stuff on his head, like it's like I don't even know what you call it, like the pantyhose where they have their hair kind of up like that. Looks like probably, I don't want to stereotype, maybe in a gang, something of that nature. Someone that's like, okay, you're a little bit out of place here. But everybody is welcome as long as you follow. I mean, you don't want to judge people on their looks, but, you know, if you're going to go to a business meeting, you dress appropriately. But anyway, this guy was behind my friend, and as he's walking in, he kind of whispers to him and goes, hey, do you think there's private sales here where there's like no background checks? And my friend was like, I'm sure there are, you know. And he knew immediately when he told me what he said. It's like, yeah, he's coming here because he wants something that's not going to be traced to him. He doesn't want a background check. Maybe he can't get a gun. So I don't know. So I'm a Second Amendment absolutist. I'm not a fan of background checks, that kind of stuff. I don't think the government should institute them, but I also think as a seller, you need to be responsible. I can tell you which by the way, I never sell anything from my, it is rare that anything leaves my collection. And normally if it leaves my collection, it's on a trade. But the few times I have ever like sold something, even though I don't have to, I'm like, hey, do you have a Texas concealed handgun license? If the answer is yes, I feel fine. And if you meet them, I'm like, okay, I can tell you're like a regular dude. I don't get any weird vibes from you. I'll proceed, and often I do a bill of sale. I try to document everything. You know, like, hey, what's your driver's license number, that kind of stuff. You don't have to, but most people are cool with that. But this guy gave me bad vibes. So I saw him walking around the show, but most of the people there were FFLs, so I know he wasn't going to get any of that. But there were some private sales. And there was one guy that I believe was selling his personal collection, meaning like, I don't know if it was a inheritance or whatever. He had a table probably with 20, 25 older guns, like Berettas, so forth. It was an okay collection. And he came up to my friend and I because he saw us looking at it. I was looking at like a 1950s Beretta, just kind of handling it. Like, oh, this thing's in good shape. And he goes, yeah, all of this is private sale, no paperwork, no paperwork, no background check, cash. Which once again is legal here in Texas, but kind of like the way he was saying it, I'm like, dude, like, don't make that your selling point. You know, while I believe in freedom, I believe you should also be responsible. You know, like, I don't know. That's just the way that I am. And it's not that a criminal is not going to get a gun anyway. I just kind of feel like you have to have certain scruples that you uphold. So I hate the idea. He was like, as I said, it's legal. He hasn't broken the law. And I don't think the guns were hot or anything. I honestly think it was just his collection. He was just trying to get rid of it. I think he inherited it because these were like older guns that I don't know if someone of his age would have been interested in. So he might have been selling grandpa's collection and just trying to get some cash for him, which is totally fine and legal. But I'm like, man, that's not the way you should be advertising that or telling people. Like, just talk about the guns, you know, negotiate a price and be like, oh, yeah, this is just a private sale. I don't have an FFL. It just comes from my personal collection because we're liquidating the collection and it's part of an estate. That's it. And you go, oh, okay, whatever, you know. Anyway, those were the two crazy stories. So that's what I discovered. In some ways, I was happy to see the gun show and where things are. And in other ways, I was kind of sad because everything is kind of mid-tier. Maybe I'm a gun snob now, but I was a little bit disappointed. All the AR parts, the rails, the lights, it's all just cheap lasers, cheap optics. A lot of Palmetto State, like lowers, or some people call them Palmetto State. It was just a bunch of mid-tier cheap stuff. Nothing that really excited me. So anyway, that's it. That's my gun show report. So tell me what you think. So if you made it to the end of this video, tell me what you think about either the things I reviewed tonight, the Race City Defense 2011, or the Sightmark Presidio LPVO, and my thoughts on the gun show. So the word of the day, if you watch to the end of this 31-minute video, wow, it's a long one. The word of the day is scruples. Scruples, because I think you have to have scruples because we need to be responsible with our freedom and make sure that if you are doing a private sale, sell it to somebody in a manner that you feel is responsible and that they're not doing it for nefarious purposes. It is, you know, with freedom comes responsibility. And I'm all about freedom. You just got to be a good person and do things the right way. So there you go. Share your thoughts, comments, opinions, and let's have a great discussion in the comments. So, as always, thanks for watching.